watching Podlandia. Hi, I'm Fred Armisen.
And I'm Carrie Brownstein, and this is AO Rewatch,
a Portlandia Rewatch podcast.
All right, so now we are going to talk about Season 1, Episode 1.
Yes.
Which, we should note, was not the original first episode. So this is not, when we talk about us shooting a pilot for IFC to determine whether to pick up or not, this first episode, The Farm, is not the original pilot. So yeah, that's a fact. We'll get, when we get to the episode 102, which is the real pilot, we will talk about that. And to me, that one looks and feels like the pilot.
Oh yeah.
This has a polish for a first episode that is kind of a cheat because it really was the second thing we ever shot.
Yes.
And the reason it became the first episode is Lorne. And there's the cold open is Dream of the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a thesis statement, essentially. We didn't think of it at the time like that, but Lorne saw it and was like, of course, this is the first episode. And it took some finagling with IFC. They really did not want this as the first episode. They wanted the pilot, the real pilot, as the first episode. And
I mean, I could, I'm glad it turned out this way.
Yes.
I could see I guess we can't really get into that second episode or the pilot episode yet, because that has put a bird on it.
Yeah.
So I could see how that does also seem like it's a statement of some kind, but still.
This is such a huge, it's just such a big song. And I feel like it also sets up an identity for Portland and for the show, and just.
It's a real, proper intro.
It's a proper intro.
And the other thing is, I know there's a lot of Lorne stuff, but I also feel like if something that Lorne is great at, I'm like, you've got to trust him, I'm like, Lorne Michaels is saying that this should be the first episode. That's enough, So, okay, Dream of the 90s. John's basic idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I think the song was written little by little. He had a concept of it, and I think you wrote it with them. And then maybe Asa Taccone?
Yeah, it was. But what I remember though, so we're writing in Portland, right? So we're up in Portland. We're writing the bulk of the season after writing originally the real pilot, the original pilot we wrote in LA. So now we're in Portland. I just remember Jonathan coming in one morning, and he's been in Portland now a couple of weeks. This is late in the season that we write this song, and he's like, I've just been having this thought about Portland, it's so 90s, it just seems stuck. It took him being there, to write this song or to come up with this idea, which I think is important. We would not have come up with this when we were still just writing in Los Angeles. It was boots on the ground, experiential, observational, and so he started this idea started percolating.
I'm remembering that. I hadn't thought about this before. Our writer's room in Portland was under a sort of convention center hotel.
Yes.
And it was kind of run down. Not a nightmare, but sort of it wasn't glamorous.
It has been torn down since. So.
Okay.
In fact, most of the writers' rooms we've ever worked in Portland have since been torn down. So I think it's fair enough to say that it was near derelict.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did we even have a writer's assistant, which is a common thing in a writer's room? It's I don't think we did. Was Alice?
I think Alice was Alice Matthias was a version of a writer's assistant. Okay. I don't know if she had that title, but
yeah, she was there.
It was
a small room.
Yeah.
For a show, this was a small writer's room.
Yeah.
So John comes in with this idea. We start talking about it. We start. The verses are essentially your character, Jason, right?
Yeah.
Jason from LA. So your character, and you're sort of telling my character, you're regaling me with the story of what this city is like.
Yeah.
And each spoken verse, you're sort of outlining all the ways that it's unlike other cities.
Yes. And there's a build up to it. There's a sort of every line is builds up a little bit more, and how excited I am about this place called Portland.
Yeah.
And what you're watching the show, we shot Portland for LA. That first scene is LA. And I remember when we were shooting it, it didn't seem convincing to me. I was like, oh, shouldn't we shoot this in LA? That's where I was sort of ignorant of like how all you need is that opening shot of LA from a distance. That's all you need.
Yeah.
But for some reason I was like, but of course it's fine. It's just two people on a street.
Yeah. I remember the costume designer, like Amanda Needham, putting me in like a juicy couture. That was her shorthand for someone in LA. I was wearing like juicy couture and Uggs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I had this I had like a beanie, like a hat.
Yeah.
Which is very LA, sort of, it's like nighttime LA wear.
Yeah. Like pulled pretty far back on your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you're telling me about it. And some of the beats in the song are, that's when we get to the line, Portland is where young people go to retire.
Yes.
Which is a line that you think was from Nick Kroll, but now that's maybe apocryphal. I remember we've talked about it, but you're like, but then maybe he said it wasn't. He claimed he didn't say that originally.
Right. I thought we got it from him, and then he wasn't so sure.
Yeah. We also talk about clowning and the Jim Rose sideshow.
Yeah.
All these sort of 90s things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which really resonated with me anyway. When I watch it, I'm like, I'm so nostalgic about that time that I get such a good feeling when I'm watching it. Like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I just remember. So for the stuff that isn't when we're walking along the streets, with the part where we get to the chorus.
Yeah.
And you're down there on the waterfront with a cast of thousands. It was like this very big music video. I only come in at the end of that video. So I was not there like all day. I had like a late call time, and I show up, and it's just like this incredible production. It was the biggest thing we had done so far. Most everything else had been, in someone's house or in like a little shop, and it's us just like, a couple people. This is like 100 background, actors, gay men's chorus, clowns and circus performers.
So many people.
I mean, it was
in costume,
in costume,
matching uniforms.
Someone for every verse.
Yep.
Like if we mentioned like a hot girl in glasses, we had the hot girls in glasses. We had people riding double-decker bikes. We had people juggling. Like it was such an amazing set to walk onto. And it was really the first time that I just became aware of how Jonathan was just thinking of this show, not just as like, okay, it's, let's put up a couple cameras and catch people like improvising. It was like, no, this was a huge like production with, done very cheaply, but like he dreamt very big, and he was always able to implement that. And we had such great production designer and Tyler Robinson,
who were in the video.
Yeah.
So
Amanda Needham, incredible costume designer.
Also in the video.
Yeah. Again, in fact, a lot of our crew.
Yeah, in the foreground. They're
which is a very common recurring thing of our show. But it was really the first time that I thought, oh, I guess we're making something a lot bigger than I realized. And that the vision of it was going to be like much grander than I had imagined. I just couldn't believe, there's like a crane, all these things. And and plus the song itself, right? Like that it wasn't, you and I had like written some incidental music for the show. And we were just like in a studio with like a guitar, and like all of a sudden this sounded like a big pop song. Yeah. Like very produced, very
completed.
Yeah. It was, I think it really like set the tone for what like the ceiling could be, that it was, and the ceiling was so much higher than I imagined. And even though we were making it in a city that wasn't, New York or London or LA, and, we didn't have New York or LA crew, we just had people who were nimble and inventive and scrappy. And like you and I come from punk, like it's a scrappy medium. And I was like, oh my God, we get to make a scrappy show. And this is the best kind of show that I can ever, like it was so in line with who we were. That was the moment that really clicked for me.
Yeah, same, by the way. Especially with the backing tracks, those songs being done. That was also beyond me. That all of a sudden it was finished. When was this recorded? It was ready to go. And like you said, right there by the river, this location that was perfect, things that are really easy to take for granted.
Yeah.
And then the sort of, I don't even remember who choreographed it, but the choreography and the setups of how people would walk towards the camera, gigantic. Something was just the scale of it was so big. But I also remember it for me. It evoked this. There's a Stranglers video for the song called "Strange Little Girl," and at the end of it, there's this punk, who's like walking with this whole crowd of people. So I just was like, oh, maybe this is a little bit like that Stranglers video.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, same thing, that everything was so complete. And that San Francisco joke at the end of it was great. That's a very specific thing.
Yes. And that is the thing. I think we never know how much of a joke or a sketch an audience is getting, but we never, we always assumed that they were intelligent and in the know, or that they would like it either way. There's, it operates, we liked it operating on multiple levels and being very specific. If you knew the subtle difference between an SF punk and and
those kind of piercings.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah. And I think that's something I always loved about The Simpsons. We end up later with The Simpsons writer, but how things just are operating on these multiple levels, the references.
Yeah.
You don't need to get the references. We're not trying to be too cool for anyone. But if you get the reference, it's like an extra Easter egg.
Yes.
Yeah. And yes, I feel like even down to people in the crew, they all also brought in those ideas. That's another thing about the show worth mentioning early on. It was best idea wins. Our production design team, they always pitched jokes, visual jokes. Our AD would pitch lines. It was all hands on deck. It had to be.
I remember him pitching jokes.
Yeah, it kind of had to be because we were shooting so quickly. We shot that video in a day. Easily that would have been a 2-day shoot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's the opening.
And I enjoyed also who came up with some of the, did you improvise some of those lines as we're walking along?
A lot of it, early on, we should just say, we had outlines for this. We even had scripts, but the scripts were so threadbare. We did so much improvisation. Yeah, some of it was improvised. I Gave Up Clowning years ago.
That one, that's right.
Just some of but and a lot of it was because of that. There's such a lot of heavy lifting from the editors. But this, I think, also was one of the first ones we did that felt we had to be locked in because there was a cadence. The verses were a certain length. There had to be sort of a button at the end of each verse that led into the chorus. And also that verse had to tie in with the lyrics of that part of the chorus. So this one, unlike, say, Feminist Book Store, which we'll get into in a second, which is much more meandering.
Yes.
This felt a little more, I don't know, structured.
And a great way to start.
Yeah.
And, I'm glad that decision was made.
Same.
And
also introduced the idea that we would be doing things with music. Music was so important to us.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And it always was so intrinsic to the fabric of the show. So I think to start with something that said this will be part of the vernacular, I think was important too.
Right. It's even presented as a music video.
Yes. It says Jason from LA.
Right.
As the artist. Yeah.
I guess going from there, it would be crazy to do this every time, but I guess we should talk about the opening credits too, because that's the first time anyone's seen that.
Yeah.
And basically, we had as a placeholder for the theme song, "Feel It All Around" by Washed Out.
Yeah.
Just because it was not a comedy song, it was sort of melancholy, and I just liked the mood of it. And we all did. We all like this mood. So, it costs a lot to get a proper, a song.
Yeah.
So we just kept it until we couldn't live without it.
Yeah. And you and I, meanwhile, were working on a theme song. We went into a studio and we recorded a bunch of songs that ended up being more incidental music and transitional music. But everything we were doing did kind of feel like more like expected comedy.
Yep.
Like there was sort of a thing at the time where comedy, like if you listen to like the Jon Stewart, The Daily Show, or Colbert, even going back to like Kids in the Hall, it's like guitar riff.
Yeah.
Almost like comedy. It's edgy.
Yeah,
and
or it's ours.
Yeah. And which is cool. It's totally fine, like all those theme songs. But I feel like we were not able to sort of, even skill-wise, that is just what we do. Like I'm a guitarist, you play drums. Like we could have done something else, but that was kind of in our wheelhouse. Yeah. But yeah, as often happens, you get really attached to the placeholder music. And it just had a vibe that I think we really loved.
Yeah. And it worked with the edited, the actual sequence itself.
Yeah. And now I kind of can't imagine any other version.
No.
Yeah.
I remember, or I was going to say like watching, because I watched the opening credits again. I still go to Portland, and the credits are like still accurate as to like the coloring. It's a sort of, there's like a hue to it all.
Yeah.
And I still get that same, feeling, because there's like some emotion in those opening credits.
Yeah. And I credit again to the song, I think Washed Out, there's something, there's heart in there, there's something bittersweet too. Like to me, even at the time, like there's a warmth to it. And also there's so many, shots of local Portlanders, and it just feels like it's such a like time capsule in some ways, but also just could be anywhere, any city at the same time. Like it's so wonderfully Portland, but also just looks like someone And that's what I think we try to do a lot with like the background, is just have it feel like really textured. Like these could be people these are your friends. These are, really build out that world. I think the credits do a good job of that.
I'm guessing it would have been Doug Lussenhop and Daniel Gray Longino and John maybe who
edited that first season. Yeah.
Or and also maybe obviously the opening credits.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's the opening credits.
Yeah, but worth mentioning because it was, I guess, to maybe stating the obvious, but the first season of a show, especially we were producers on the show too. So all of these decisions are sort of there for us. And it's a lot, like a lot goes into it. And that might sound obvious, but it was just, we didn't know, it was like every little thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of it are, those things are happy accidents.
Yep.
And fall into place. But you're building a world.
And we stuck to it. We stuck to those credits. So we'll go on to the, Colin Farm.
Yeah.
I guess it's not just a sketch, it's like a 3-parter. I think we used to think of them as.
Yeah. So the structure of the show is essentially a cold open, then it would be the credits, and then we would have what's called like a wraparound sketch. Like what's the, and every episode had a wraparound. It was a 3-part sketch, beginning, middle, and end. And that kind of was the container for the show.
Yes.
And so
based on we might have, I think, tried to write different sketches about ordering at a restaurant. Because our experience, I remember, or my experience there was always that whenever you order something, there was a lot of, there was like a sort of like specialness to it. You know what I mean? Like, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Like
preciousness,
yeah. Or not tradition, but like, there was like, it wasn't just like, you just order something from a waiter. There was like a lot of explanation.
A lot of storytelling.
A lot of storytelling, a lot of, this is, they would tell you what your experience was going to be for a meal.
Yeah. And the other thing, and again, so I, just to remind people it's 2011.
Yeah.
So this has become pretty normal almost everywhere you go. But there was definitely kind of a shift into this kind of experiential, immersive restaurant going, where, it was people trying to differentiate themselves. Like, well, this restaurant, there was a lot of, this was the first time you heard, have you dined with us before?
Yes.
And you're like, no, but I've eaten at a restaurant. So, unless you're going to do something absolutely shocking here, I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen. But they always told you that as if like this was going to be this very bespoke experience. Part of that was to give you a background of the food, the food story.
Yes.
Which again, most of us don't need. And this was also when menus got very like narrative. It was like, can I get the Cliff's Notes of this menu, please? Like, what's the short version of this menu?
Yeah.
And then these, servers memorizing so much, like to tell you the story. So
yes, and also trying to be casual. So it was proper and then just casual at the same time. Like, just so you know, this is what we do, and you're right. It is. You do see it a lot more now, even in not fast food, but there's like there are sort of fast foodish places that will give you a little story.
In fast casual, because everything's about like, well, what's your story?
Yeah.
And it's like that. It's so endemic now. But this felt like a way of differentiating between, a certain kind of restaurant and like the old and new. This was like the dividing line here.
Yeah.
Lots of like, what's the origin? What's the provenance of the food? And, obviously people genuinely starting to care. Like, where is this coming from? Like, is this like, what's the environmental and ecological impact? Like, is this humanely sourced? And, all that.
And is it local?
Is it local? Exactly. How local is it? So with all of that in mind, I think, and having that be really prevalent and newly prevalent, we started, talking about this. And I think you're right. I think there were certain ideas that we had disparate sketches, and then we started to sort of coalesce that into like, well, what if we just did one sketch that was about all of these things?
Ordering.
And another thing in terms of like these wraparounds, these three-parters, is that we often started, as this one does, with a grounded premise. Or as, grounded, mostly grounded premise. And then, of course, we deviate from there. But usually the part one is like, okay, we're starting somewhat in reality, which we do here. We go to a restaurant. We're introduced to two characters.
And I would say new characters. Even though it's the first episode, we hadn't done them before in Thunderant.
Yeah. So Peter and Nance.
Yeah.
A couple.
Yeah.
And I guess because it's you and I, like most of our characters, many of our recurring characters are couples.
Yes.
Married or friends or, but this was kind of a classic married couple.
No friction.
This is like the couple with the least amount of friction.
Yes. And you do see them around. Like, wow, they really seem to get along.
Just the other day, I was walking my dog and a couple was holding hands. They were in their 70s. And I was like, wow, that's so much dedication. It's pouring rain, hand out, exposed. Like, and I just thought like, wow, it's very sweet. It also makes me, for some reason, angry, which is like every other character on the show.
Sure.
Like the reaction to that.
Yeah.
For no reason. I'm so happy for them. My God.
Hear you. Yes.
May they die holding hands. Like I want that for them. But at the same time, like I'm just so perplexed. And I think that's often where we build characters from is things that we don't like how and why.
Yeah.
Like let's embody that for a while.
Yeah.
And Peter and Nance, they are so cloying. They just melt into each other.
They're soft. And they're also not even particularly, like, it's not like this erotic trip of how hot they are for each other. It's just comfortable. And
it's comfortable.
They just love each other. And it really, I felt like that was something that existed in Portland was like, it's all fine.
Yeah, especially embodied by them. Yeah, frictionless is definitely the right word. And you kind of didn't know where one ended and the other began. So
even their clothes are kind of
flowing.
Loose. They're not hippies.
No hard edges. Yeah.
And they're at this restaurant and they really let ordering linger.
Oh boy.
As opposed to let's just get our food. Let's make this an appointment.
Yeah, they have a lot of questions. The wait person is played by Dana Milliken. This was her first role on the show, and she became a recurring character, a recurring actor on the show. She played many. In fact, she never played this character again. But she is a local Portland actor. She was on every season.
Yep,
we adore Dana,
Great.
And to her credit, and to the credit of almost everyone on the show, no script. She had a few lines, but everything that you see, at least 99% of it, is her absolutely improvising.
Playing it straight
the whole time, which is exactly the assignment for that. This is also, I would say, for Peter. You have a Peter stammers. He has a stutter.
Yeah.
And you do that for the first time here.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was something that certainly wasn't in the character description. You picked a word and you sort of let it roll, and you had a hard time getting it out. And then that became part of who he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, like, as I was watching it too, I was like, what was I going for? Or like, who? Oh, that's so pretentious to say. But like, I remember thinking that maybe he looked a little bit like or was a little bit like either Chevy Chase or Martin Short, like a mix of them doing something. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what that was a little bit. And
I remember thinking as I was rewatching this that you still had more of your Fred voice here than you do later.
That happens in a lot of sketches.
Yes, and I do the same thing where we sort of we didn't know which characters would be reoccurring, and so some characters we never had time to develop further, but these characters we recurred over and over again.
Yeah.
But yes, I think my version of Nance also becomes more pronounced. It's like the more we sort of grew into each other, even as a couple, as the couple of Peter and Nance.
Yes.
The more we started playing off the other person's, sort of, I don't know, little syrupy nature.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we ask Dana where we want to order a chicken, and she brings out the paperwork for this chicken.
Who is this chicken specifically?
And the chicken's name is Colin.
Yeah.
And we decide that we need to go and
really investigate.
And he's from a local farm nearby.
Yeah.
So we leave the table and say we're going to be right back.
And we even say, like, just hold these seats.
While
we go on this little trip.
Yeah. And we head off.
Talking about Peter and Nance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this ever happens with you, but sometimes with memory,
mm-hmm.
I do sometimes, like, we'll sort of fill in the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
And later in the existence of Portlandia,
mm-hmm.
we ran into a couple who was out, and I think they were walking their dog or something, and were very much like Peter and Nance.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow I always think, like, oh, maybe they were kind of based on them, which is impossible.
Because you met them afterwards.
Met them after.
Right.
But maybe it's to say that I think somewhere I did notice couples like that in Portland.
Yeah, I will say that I think a lot of our characters, and obviously when we get to each character, we can talk more about this, but are based on people we know or are iterations of ourselves. Like, we talk about that all the time, how, like, there's just some facet of our personality. Like,
definitely.
And where I'm like, if I only, like, highlighted this part of myself, like the part of myself that's really frustrated and short-tempered, then I would be this character. If I only highlighted this part of myself, I would be like this. And I think that's a place that we came from, was not making fun of people, not looking at someone and saying, haha, aren't they weird or strange or eccentric? But, oh, I can see myself in that. I know who this person is because when I'm in a certain situation, I'm like that. And, like, let's build a character around if I only did that or you only did that. And then especially putting them together.
Yes.
And how would we play off each other if we were like that? And I think a lot of it, like, they remind me of my parents' friends.
Sure.
Growing up. But yeah. But I agree that Peter and Nance, like, I feel like we know them. That's often where it came from. Like, I know this person. Like,
yes.
I've been around this person, or I've felt myself doing something like this.
And I am a sucker for, like, even though it seems like we're making fun of those restaurants, I'm a sucker for those places. That's where any city I go to, I go to whatever seems the most, farm to table or whatever it's called now. That same, all those graphics and all that stuff, that is where I'm headed. So I don't look at it like, from like, hey, well, get over yourself. It's not like that. It's more like, every city.
Yeah.
That's where I end up in a place like that.
No, it's true. I think the ethos of the show, even early on, was like, let's explore something. Like, it comes from a place of curiosity.
Yeah.
Not a place of derision. It's just like, I want to know more about this. Like, I want to understand it. Whether it's something that we already participate in or not. Like, what makes this place tick? What makes this person tick?
Yeah.
So Peter and Nance, off
Peter
we go.
and Nance. And in part 2 of this wraparound, we go to the farm.
In my real car.
Oh, that's right. And
in my Volvo that I had at the time. Yeah.
And that was up in the hills of around Portland. And
yeah, maybe West Hills. And remember, there was a guy, there was a guy who has a cameo in this, who that year was voted like Portland's hottest farmer. Remember that?
Wow.
It's like, I didn't even know we had that competition. Anyway, just a little Easter egg for the people. Also, our makeup person, Jessica Needham, is in the scene. Our costume designer, Amanda Needham, and a handful of other, again, just so many, so much crew in the background. But this
Ashby's in it.
Ashby's in it.
Who's in many episodes and many sketches.
All these women play the wives of Aliki, who is the head farmer, cult leader, played by Jason Sudeikis.
I want to say also about, shooting things and not knowing how things work. I was still under the impression that you needed at the time footage of us driving. When are we going to do us looking for... And I really learned on Portlandia about like, you don't need any of that stuff. Once we arrive, of course,
Yeah.
I can't believe I ever was questioned. Oh, I mean, I didn't question. I was just sort of like, oh, I guess we're just here, but works perfectly fine.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. Like there's so much you learn about editing and filmmaking by just being around it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, things that you take for granted and, and it's just like, the process is revealing itself to you. And I felt really surprised a lot too, just in the early days, because it's so new.
Yeah.
And, for our listeners, that might sound ignorant, but there's actually something really wondrous about kind of being surprised, as you're going along and just, it's also a good thing to demystify for people. Like, yes, there are definitely people who know exactly what they're doing, but a lot of people, especially in TV and film and working on set, you learn as you go. There's people that have the knowledge beforehand, but even those people are learning, and every day is very different. Things are thrown at you, but it's like a big machine that requires everyone like working, and we're just one small part of that. So often we would just show up on set too, like, because we're done with the writing, now we're just in acting mode, and we would show up to set. And I was always amazed, I should say too, as like how it went from page to screen. Like something we would write, a little thing you put in the script.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, here's this farm and everyone's in these like the same outfits because they're,
in this cult.
Yeah, in this cult. Yeah. That was, running, Jason, I don't even know if we had seen him beforehand that day. Like sometime.
No, I feel like that's the first time we saw him was on set. Although, I mean, I'd worked with him a bunch.
Yeah.
And I got to say, he is so funny.
Yes.
In this. And watching it again, there's little things he does. There's just this smooth character. There's this one thing he does where you say your name and he sort of leans into you to say like, what was that? I'm sorry, one more time, and it's so funny and so good. It's just like this sort of, all he's doing, all that character is doing is just finding an excuse to sort of lean into you a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so good.
And another thing that occurs here that becomes a theme that we repeat and a tool we use is incidental, like background music.
Oh, yes.
And every time, Peter and Nance, we're getting shown around the farm by this young woman, and she keeps pointing out Aliki. We haven't met him yet. Yeah. And he's far off. And every time we look at him, there's just this little, this cue, this music cue.
Yeah, it's like 60s, psychedelic.
Yeah, and it's sort of intoxicating. You can see us, like we're sort of entranced by this guy, wanting to get closer. And, we end up using the editors and, the directors would make this choice to just use that music all the time. And same with cutaways of like reaction shots from background. Yeah. You see that a lot here. But yeah, to speak to what you're saying about Jason, the other thing I noticed he did that's really brilliant is he made a choice that he would treat Peter and Nance differently. So Peter, he sees as is like the weaker character, right? He's like really playing to your like vanity, right? Peter says in the first part 1, his eyes, and he immediately says something about your eyes. And then Nance, he sort of is like negging the whole time. Like he's sort of putting her down. He like kind of has her number.
Yeah.
And like he just made this choice to treat each of us differently.
Yeah.
And it was so much smarter than just seeing us as like this monolith. He really sort of comes at us and like it really created a much richer dynamic, I thought, for something that's so short. Yeah.
And I also understood how he would be a cult leader or whatever that is. Because it wasn't the stereotype or the cliche of a long-haired, that kind of wisdom. It was this other thing that even today I'm like, hey, I want to follow that guy.
Yeah.
And then jumping into that third part of the wraparound, that jump that he's dying.
Yes.
I thought, or I assumed that somewhere there was going to be a scene of him going, I don't feel so well, or I'm dying. Right away, deathbed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all you need.
Yeah. And I think, again, part of that learning curve, like, they say with like fiction or short stories, like, enter the scene late and leave early. And that is so true with sketch as well. Like you don't need heads or tails. Like, let's just get right to the meat of it. And yeah, we kind of we sort of learned how to do that. And certainly our editors, I think early on really helped us. We started to write more like they edited because they were like, oh my God, this is so like, let's cut this and that.
Yeah.
So it's this big deathbed scene, which was so great. That's all that was. We just started, they're all of his wives now, including me and you.
Yeah.
Peter and Nance are sitting around this deathbed. And then he finally dies and the spell is broken. We realize we've been in a cult. We look down, we see that we're wearing these long skirts and
back we go to the restaurant.
Back to the restaurant and we decide to order something else.
I think we order salmon or something.
Yeah. Fish, salmon,
Yeah.
Yeah. And it, again, that kind of sort of going back to like how we structured things, it was sort of like grounded, absurd, surreal. That's how I always think of it. If you were to, in general terms, so it ends kind of, it very heightened. Dana suspends her disbelief that we would, ostensibly it's been years later, but we return to the same table as if she's just been waiting for us the whole time.
Yes.
And continue our order.
I was just going back to that first part, the fact that she had that folder with all that information, it's kind of a really good move that she's not just a straight person of like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like we're all engaging in whatever this is.
Yeah. And again, that, credit to the art department, prop wise. I mean, they like for us too, the props really, I think, helped because with sketch, you don't have a lot of time. We would sometimes shoot like 3 or 4 sketches a day, completely different characters, different setups, different wigs, hair, makeup. I mean, a prop can be the thing that just brings you right into, the characters.
Yes.
Same with clothing, same with a like a hat or piece, whatever, glasses. But it really, you need that shorthand. And I think the art department was really good at visual storytelling. They were the ones that gave her that, the folder with, she went, let me get Colin's paperwork. She comes back. There's a little photo of a chicken.
Yeah.
We didn't write that into the script.
No.
So there was a lot of
really had it.
Additional stuff. So yeah. And that one, I will say, there's certain Portlandia sketches that people still bring up and that, in a way that I feel so lucky to have been part of, like became part of like cultural parlance. And definitely like sometimes when I go to restaurants and especially during the years Portlandia was airing, some people would be self-conscious as they took my order because they were like, oh God, I know it's like, I'm telling you this thing, but the whole calling the chicken and, asking about the origin of your food definitely became a thing that, Portlandia was part of that conversation, but specifically this sketch.
It might be at number 1 for like a reference that someone will say
definitely
to me.
top 5, I think. Yeah. Well, but yeah, so that was I liked that episode a lot, and definitely Peter and Nance love. And I'm not even sure why we went back to them, but we did. And it's like, again, a lot of things we weren't saying, we didn't start out writing the show and said, here are the 10 characters at all.
No.
Like here's the ones we'll write for. That was very organic.
That one, Peter and Nance, just a good template for a lot of sketches where we don't need them to be too opinionated about anything.
Yeah.
I want to say also, I just want to add that the element of wigs for every season was an issue in a good way since the pilot. Since where just like the music that we chose, we didn't want that to be too comedy-ish. We also didn't want the wigs to be too comedic.
Right. So
it took a while, and this is like a budget conversation where we had to really, ratchet up a little bit of like, we really need good wigs.
Yeah, and so you brought the people from SNL. Yep. You brought the best of the best.
That's right. Jody Mancuso, who I think it was just her at first, and then she brought in Jen. But it's a secret. It's just a good. I mean, there's many great ingredients, but that ingredient was an immediate visual one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think in general, everyone was punching above their weight. I mean, obviously, Jody was high, like best of the best, but coming to Portland and working on much different, like with different resources and fewer resources, everyone was really like doing a lot of fantastic work with, also just pointing out, we didn't have dressing rooms. That's you right. and I. So, a traditional show, the stars of the show would have their own dressing rooms. We just were in the back of the hair and makeup trailer.
In a camper.
In a camper, yep. We never, in fact, for all 8 seasons, we never had our own dressing rooms, but definitely first season, we were all together. And along with the driver. Yep. And his wife. Of the RV. They were there, and hair, makeup, costumes, we were all together.
Yeah, all together.
Yep. And we never had our own bathroom or it was very threadbare.
I mean, as it was happening, I think we also didn't know what the show was in a way. Yeah. So I didn't have the argument in me at the time to be like, don't you know what this is? It was more like, I have no idea. This might be, too good for what, we're trying to accomplish.
I think it helped the spirit of the show. It felt very communal, and we also didn't want it to look or feel like it was taking place in sort of the usual, media centers. Like,
Yes.
I mean, not that I didn't want my own bathroom.
I gotta say, we really navigated it well. I don't think we ever got into, and the whole run, nothing was ever weird about the dressing room.
You and I literally shared the whole time. Yeah. I never
was an issue. It was you order food.
Yeah.
We had a break in between, whatever.
There was never a point where it was like, season 3, we had to start.
Yes.
They weren't even talking to each other.
No.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, I kind of like this door closed, just so you know. It was all totally fine.
And by the way, the guest stars didn't have their own.
Nope.
Like we've already mentioned Jason Sudeikis. We'll get to other guest stars, including like Tony and Oscar winners. They also did not have their own dressing room.
No.
And everyone, we'll say it again and again, probably as we talk about them individually. People were game. They came and like were able to adapt to the strange, culture of the show. But that was Jason's dressing room too. Was just
that's right.
Yeah.
Wherever.
Oh, sorry, I'm in the back. Please don't come in. That was it. That was it. Changing. And that when there was no hierarchy, there was no one person that, they need their own dressing room. That just was what they were told before they got there. And everyone seemed okay with it.
I think later what we would do is, because we had an Airstream, one of those little Airstream trailers, we would leave. If a star was big enough, we'd be like, well, let's let them have it. Mm-hmm. That was our big move.
But there was a back room in the Airstream. And so they would there was a door at least, and they could change. But all right. Well, so let's just quickly, I guess, we talked about the 2 main sketches, just like the other sketches in the show. So we had the cold open. part one of the farm, and then we do into the technology loop.
Yes, technology loop. And I like watching this one because I identify with it still happening today.
Yes. I mean, I don't want to say we were early adopters, but we definitely were already sensitive to the ways that tech was overtaking our lives and kind of hijacking our brains. And
it didn't seem like it's really well edited. And it was also, that one had the first bit of like digital fixing that I didn't even know was possible. At the end of the tech loop, I sort of freeze over.
Oh, right. And your eyes.
And my eyes go up and my mouth goes down.
That's right.
And that was all done. The editors did it.
In post, yeah.
Yeah.
And then here is the introduction of Feminist Book Store, which, as Fred and I discussed, predates the show. So here we are bringing Tony and Candace into Portlandia. We changed the location. So we were working out of a real feminist bookstore on North Killingsworth called In Other Words.
Yep.
They were generous enough to let us use their store. We renamed it Women and Women First. Mm-hmm. And our first customer, Steve Buscemi, who another person we'll talk about. Hopefully we'll have him on the show because he comes back year after year. We love Steve. He ended up directing multiple episodes. Yeah. But yeah, a classic feminist bookstore setup. Someone comes into the store, which is already an affront to Tony and Candace. Yeah. And he wants to use our bathroom and we make him buy something.
Yes, we make it difficult.
Yeah.
Whenever I watch the feminist bookstore sketches, it's almost like they just want someone to stay. Even if it's confrontational, it's more like, don't leave.
No, you're still holding them hostage, even though you want them to leave. It's very confusing.
Yeah. All improvised.
Yeah. And then Adult Hide and Seek, which is a sketch that I really love. It also introduces Ellen, right?
Ellen Bloodworth.
Yeah. Who plays the woman who Fred's character, Stuart, right, is interacting with, who's kind of a little bit disdainful, a little bit skeptical of adults acting like kids in a library.
Really good. She was great. Really good tone. She really made us laugh.
Yeah. Local actress who, based on this performance, we brought back year after year. That happened a lot of times. You know, we had great background and local casting directors, and they would bring in talent from all over Portland, and many of them, we just loved what they did, and they became part of the cast, essentially.
Yeah.
But Ellen was definitely one of those people.
So great.
And you guys just had such an instant chemistry, which I really like.
Yeah, we definitely did. And she was just perfectly funny.
She was really funny.
Yeah.
And then I think another thing anyway, I'll stop there.
And then what else do we have?
And that's it.
That's all our sketches. So that's episode 1. All
right. Well, thank you so much for listening to our very first AO Rewatch episode. This was very fun.
It was. I really enjoyed getting to watch that again.
Me too.
And to talk about it. I feel like we haven't talked about it that much. A little, but like not to this extent.
We talk about it broadly, and we'll talk about it like sort of anecdotally.
Yeah.
But to get granular is really enjoyable.
Agreed. Thank you.
Thank you.
This 15 years later, or whatever it is, the feeling of watching it now is I feel mostly good about the decisions we made. I like things like the tech loop, and I think it's because at the time when we were shooting it, we knew it wasn't going to come out until 6 months later or something. So it wasn't that topical.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, I like that it's a little evergreen.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I keep sort of monitoring as I'm watching it, thinking, okay, what is evergreen? What feels a little dated? Because of course times change, and often that is technology. And I remember that was a conversation we had at the time. Certain things, of course, you're never gonna be able to be ahead of things. But I feel like that was a conscious decision we made, whether it was politics or, certain references. Like we wanted it to feel like timeless in a way. You know, we wanted to be speaking to larger things in terms of just like, let's focus on who these people are, you know, and how they relate to their environment versus like the time period.
Yeah.
You know, but that is something that I'm looking for when I'm watching. Just, I'm excited when something does feel like, oh yeah, that's still relevant, or even better, like we were ahead of the curve there on something. That's a good feeling. Yeah. Also, you know, everyone looks really young.
Oh, yeah. That part is, yes. That's, yeah, notable.
Yeah. Also, I remember our takes were really long, and I remember our camera people, like Feminist Book Store especially. So like Tony and Candace can improvise forever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just remember like the camera people, who I think was TG and Aubrey.
Yeah.
That first year would have to adjust. Of course, the camera is heavy. They weren't on sticks. They were like on their shoulders. And you can see sometimes the camera just tilts because the camera operator is like, no, I'm sorry, but no, please. So I definitely see that. And I just, but for the most part, I think to me, like the wraparound sketches so far, like hold up, you know, like sometimes the individual ones, it's just such the sheer amount. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, some of those I can take or leave, but I felt like this episode felt strong to me.
Yeah, I feel the same. And technology-wise, for however much things have changed, there are some things that I'm actually kind of surprised have stayed the same. The idea of texting. So then, you know, in the tech loop, we're texting a lot, and you know, but I'm kind of surprised that that's still the way we communicate. That it's thumbs. I thought by now there'd be some other thing, but I'm glad it's that way. And I think there's even an iPad on the table there. So I'm like, all right, those iPad, iPhone, that stuff is like, it's not, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but it's not so antiquated that I'm like, oh, I can't believe we've got.
Right. What's interesting is, you know, we switch in that sketch to Mind-Fi, which is us sort of speaking just telepathically, but then your brain still gets hijacked by ads. And to me, even though it's not literally like that, it does feel like we're in a version of that, where like we're just never safe from being inundated with like, you know, slog or brain rot or clutter.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so in that sense, it's true. Like that has just been a continuum. Like we've been on a slow decline since then. Yeah. But yeah, I feel us, I can feel us getting our feet wet. To me, I mean, you and I talk a lot about this, like, and we make analogies to music, but you know, this is kind of our first album this season. And like, I like it. I think it holds up as a first album. Like to me, it has like some highs, and then it has things that looking back, I'm like, okay, that probably didn't work. But I feel like as a statement, it feels good coming out of the gates. Like there's little things I would do differently, but it feels like a debut album in a good way, the good kind of debut album where it's like, okay, it's coming onto the scene. It has like, it looks different to me. Like when I was watching it, I was like, this looks different than other sketch shows, you know, that like started to come out after us. Once all the networks that had turned us down decided that they were going to put out sketch shows. You know, I think the closest thing that it looks like is probably Kids in the Hall.
Definitely.
Because that was, you know, shot in Toronto. So again, wasn't LA or New York.
Yeah.
Had a slightly cinematic quality to it and had that kind of shambolic quality to it.
Yeah.
I would say that's the closest like aesthetic analog to it.
Speaking of analog, I think that because I like the, you know, it's enough to say that it's a good debut album or first album. But to get more specific, for some reason, what comes to mind is Talking Head 77. That's very much them. They're very even though they evolved beyond that. Anyway, so that's usually what I think of, where it feels like that kind of. I think of that album specifically.
Oh, that's interesting.
Maybe The Police's first album.
Which is The Police's first album?
It's just the Police, and it has Roxanna's on it.
Okay, yeah. So it has a big.
It has like it's a definite beginning. And same with Talking Heads, where that has Psycho Killer on it.
Yeah. It has like, it creates a vernacular. It changes, but it also, it's like, you know what a Talking Head song is based on that album, or you know what a Police song is based on their first album.
Yeah.
Like they didn't keep, like they pushed forward, but it wasn't like an act of full reinvention every time, which I feel like, you know, we do return to, like you see the DNA in these sketches, I think, that we build upon.
So that was episode 1. I love getting to do this. And I'm looking forward to the rest of it, to having guests, you know, that we've had on the show, that have worked on the show. It's really fun for me, and I'm excited to do it.
Me too. I'm also very excited. I'm excited to hang out with you. I'm excited to keep rewatching these episodes and unpacking all of it and going off on tangents, which we definitely will. And I'm excited to bring in some of the great guests that we had on the show and talk to them about their experience. And we're so grateful for our listeners and viewers. So very excited for this podcast series.